Hello, everyone. Welcome to Community Connections. Thank you for joining us today. It is our July Community Connections. We're so happy to have you join us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I'm your Community Connections Program Coordinator, and we have a really exciting segment for you today. We're going to be joined by two incredible people working in the AYA cancer community. And we have some presentations from them, and then we'll follow that with our cooking and nutrition demonstration at 12 o'clock, so you can stay tuned for that segment as well. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to get started, and to kick things off, we're going to be joined by Marlie Smith, who is the clinical nurse specialist with the Adolescent and Young Adult program at the Princess Margaret Cancer Centre. Marlie completed her Master's of Nursing from the University of Toronto, and prior to that, she completed 2 undergraduate programs at Queen's University in biology and nursing, before beginning her nursing career at Sick Kids in the Hematological Oncology Department. Marlie is passionate about empowering young patients to be actively involved in their care and helping them maintain normalcy as best as possible while on treatment. Outside of work, Marlie enjoys backcountry camping, going for bike rides, and spending time with family and friends. Marlie is joining us today to talk a little bit more about the AYA at Princess Margaret's program and some of the amazing resources that they offer. So without further ado, Marlie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be working with ELLICSR for the community program outreach. I'm really just here today to tell you a little bit about our program and the type of services that I'm able to offer patients with a cancer or blood disorder diagnosis, and to just highlight some different things that are happening in our program, whether it being different events that are upcoming or research that we have ongoing. So I'll start off by outlining what it is that we do within the AYA program. So really, we're a multidisciplinary team that is comprised of myself, a couple of physicians, social workers, kinesiologists, researchers, a whole team that is really interested in supporting young patients between the age of 18 and 39 with a cancer or blood disorder diagnosis. And the reason that we're here really is because we understand that the way that cancer and a blood disorder diagnosis impacts life at this stage of life is very, very unique. And there's lots of special needs that pertain to this population at this stage that need extra time and attention to help manage. So that's really why we're here. I am an oncology nurse by background, so I always encourage patients to reach out to me if they have questions about their symptoms or treatment or just talking things out. But really how I work best is alongside the treating team. We call ourselves a consult service because we really just work in consultation with the primary team to look at you as a whole person to make sure that you're feeling well supported during treatment and beyond. I actually see most of my patients when they are first diagnosed or at some point when they're receiving active treatment. But I do have a large chunk of patients who I see in the survivorship phase, so the post-treatment phase, when they're trying to navigate different concerns surrounding reintegrating into the workspace, having body image concerns that are longstanding, or have questions about their fertility and how to start growing their family. So really, I'm here to support patients at all stages of their disease trajectory in whatever way is most helpful. If you feel that this program would really benefit you and you haven't been in touch with the AYA program, there's a couple of different ways that we can get involved in your care. Number one is by requesting a referral from your primary healthcare team, so your oncologist or your nurse, or you can self-refer to my program via email, and you can email aya@uhn.ca, and we'll provide that information to you. Simply, you can send an email to say your name and that you're interested in speaking with me for our initial consultation, and we'll go from there. Our initial consultation is about an hour in length, so I talk about all of the different areas in life really related to disclosing your diagnosis to friends, family, or if you have young children, how to safely exercise on treatment, what types of food you should be eating on treatment, and of course, we send resources such as ELLICSR to patients a lot of the time, how to address different body image concerns and sexual health concerns. Really anything life related that pops up is what I help manage. So again, if you feel that that would be of interest to you, please reach out anytime. I'd be happy to help support you. Now, I'd love to talk about some of the exciting things that we have going on in our program. So number one is our monthly meetups. Once a month, we have an opportunity for a virtual meetup through Microsoft Teams, where we have about 5 to 15 patients attend each month. And some patients actually attend every month, which is really nice to see that community start to build nice and strong. And really, it's an opportunity to just connect with other AYAs, adolescent young adults, who understand really what you're going through. It's a great opportunity to bring any questions that you might have, or simply just listen in passively, camera off, alias name, anything that allows for your increased comfort, for you to just connect and feel that sense of support. Because we know that the amount of young patients at the hospitals that you're being treated at is quite small and can feel quite isolating in that regard. So we like to bring you together to really just feel that sense of support. Actually, in August, we are planning our first in-person event tentatively, if the COVID numbers are safe to do so. And this is tentatively going to be on August 28th. We are looking for this to be run at Sherwood Park at the Yonge and Eglinton area. It will be outdoors with some pizza, maybe some booths from different organizations that we work closely with, such as Gilda's and Wellspring and Pink Pearl, and really just an opportunity to meet those community partners that you work closely with. We refer often to, and really just to mingle with other AYAs in person, because we know that that has been really, really missing since the COVID pandemic has been declared. Something else to keep in mind is for patients who are already connected with the AYA program, we are going to be sending out a survey very, very soon to gain some feedback and an understanding of how we're doing as a program. We are always looking for ways to improve, to better meet your needs. And to do that, we need your help and support to guide us in the direction that we should be going. So look out for that if you are already in touch with us. And if you aren't in touch with us, but would like to give, some insight into the needs that you have as a person going through a cancer experience, we would love to hear that as well. We also have a really, really great research program that is open. It's a study called the Himalayas study, and it's an opportunity for patients who had certain types of chemotherapy that can impact heart function or chest radiation, for you to be enrolled on an exercise trial for different screening and exercises to boost your cardiac health. And if that sounds like something that you would be interested in, you're more than welcome to reach out to us via aya@uhn.ca, and I will put you in touch with the research coordinator for more information and to see if you're eligible for the trial. It's a really, really exciting opportunity. We know that exercise is so important for so many reasons, especially in the survivorship phase when we're done getting those cardiotoxic medications or radiation, trying to rebuild our strength and optimize our heart health. So reach out if you would like more information on that as well. Social media. We do have an Instagram handle, and it is called AYA Program, and it's our logo in red, AYA. We would love for you to follow along to, learn about some other events that are upcoming. We like to share some events that are happening with our community partners as well. So it's a really nice way of staying in touch with a nice community and seeing what else is out there that you might be interested in. This is where we'll have information about our survey and other programs or research that's upcoming as well. So it's really good to stay in touch that way. We will also be breaking into the TikTok world very, very soon. So I will share the information via our social media, our Instagram account, for you to follow along with that. Our goal with our TikTok is to just share some more health information. We know that our generation is very, very active on social media. So we're hoping to increase awareness about the AYA specific needs and about what is happening in our program and other community organizations as well. Another really great way to stay connected with what is upcoming is our newsletter. On our AYA program page, we actually have a website that we will share with you, and our newsletter is uploaded there once a month. But we also have an opportunity, and we are setting this up right now, for patients and participants to actively opt in to receive the newsletter via email. And it's a really, really great way of seeing, what's upcoming, our upcoming need update, any events that are shared in the community. So another way to stay up to date on what's happening in the AYA community at large. If you would like to be included in this email, please reach out to aya@uhn.ca, and I will definitely put you on the list for that as well. I think that's it, Jeremy.
Thank you so much, Marlie, for that amazing presentation and for sharing more about the AYA program at Princess Margaret and what you have going on and what you have to offer. I listed the website that Marlie was referring to if you did want to find more information about some of the AYA resources at Princess Margaret. In the chat box there, and then for self-referrals, the contact is aya@uhn.ca. And then you can also follow them on socials, on their socials on Instagram and Twitter, and it's at, let me just double check, it's at AYA Program. And you can check them out, see what's going on Twitter and Instagram there. So thank you so much again, Marlie, for joining us today. We're going to be moving on to our next guest. We are very excited to be joined by Marie Michel. She is a project manager and therapeutic adventure facilitator for an amazing program called On the Tip of the Toes Foundation. I'm going to try my best to say that in French, and it's Sur la Pointe des Pieds. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too much, but they are an incredible group. They're doing some amazing adventures and activities for the AYA community. So without further ado, Marie Michel, thank you for joining us.
Hey everyone, my name is Marie Michel. I'm a project manager and a field facilitator for the On the Tip of the Toes Foundation. And I'm here with you this morning to present a bit about what we do, who we are, and also to present the programs that we organize every year for adolescents and young adults affected by cancer. So for those of you who don't know the foundation, our mission is to help young people affected by cancer regain their well-being through therapeutic adventures, which is our tool. So what does that mean? This is what we're going to try to explain in the next few minutes. So for the little story, the Tip of the Toes exists since 1996. It started by the initiative of an oncologist. He was working in Montreal and Toronto a bit at the same time, pediatric oncologist. And unfortunately, he had lost a young patient that night, and it was a winter storm outside. He was getting back home, and he was thinking, why did that happen? You know, that kid, he wasn't, like, his body was still physically able to overcome cancer, but his mind had shut off, right? So he was thinking about a way to give hope to his patients, and he thought, well, why not try something that, like, bring them to face a real big challenge so they regain their self-confidence and get over cancer after that. So he called someone from Chicoutimi, Quebec. He was an adventure guide. His name was François Guillot, and he asked him to organize an expedition for some of his patients. So they left in '96 in a very remote area in the Mont-Gros in Quebec with 6 patients who were in remission. And it was a very big success, so they decided to reorganize such programs after. They were dog sledding for many days, and they also they've been snowboarding in '96 in the backcountry. That was very unusual back in the days. So after that, every year they decided to organize a new program for teenagers. At the time, it was only for teenagers. And then in 2014, we developed programs for youth that were under treatments. They were called the Getaway Expeditions. They are still called the Getaway Expeditions. We had some pilots last year in 2021. And so we are in 2022. We realized more than 60 expeditions so far, and they accepted more than close to 600 participants over the years. So we're getting experience with that, right? So the programs we offer, they're therapeutic adventure expeditions. They are meant for, we have 2 different groups of age right now. So 14 to 18 for teenagers, or 19 to 29 for young adults. And we are also thinking about extending this to 39. We are developing new programs, and it's going to come up in the next months or years. So we offer 2 different programs to both groups of age. One is the Grand Expedition. It's a long expedition from 8 to 12 days, more or less, depending on the season as well. We offer 1 program in the winter and 1 in the summer, and we alternate the groups of age every year for these programs. We accept 14 youths in remission, in this case. and the activities are varied. So we change the destination every year over Canada. We change the activity. We work with professional guides in the destination we're going to. It can be as varied as in the summer, for example, we would go river canoeing, or we could go sea kayaking or hiking. In the winter, we can go duck sitting or snowmobiling, skiing, snowshoeing. So different kinds of activities. It's generally one activity per program. Sometimes we have a mix of 2 or 3, but generally just one. It's an expedition type of thing. And the second type of program we offer is the getaway expedition. So it's a shorter program. It's meant for youth who are still under treatments. So we accept up to 10 participants. We also accept sometimes youth who are just out of their treatments, like a short time after their treatments, or sometimes with a longer, that had finished their treatment since a longer time, but who are living with some limitations, and people who couldn't maybe participate in a longer expedition. So this is all evaluated on a case by case. The program, this one always takes place in Quebec, in Gatineau, close to the Ontarian border, a place called the Poisson Blanc Reservoir. It's a voyageur canoe expedition. So we are in a big canoe with 10 people in there. It's very adapted to your rhythm, to the group's rhythm. So if someone is a bit more tired, we can take breaks, take our time, and we are 10 in the canoes, right? So if you are there and you're tired, you can take a break paddling, and your partners are gonna keep up for to get to our destination. So 2 different kinds of program: grand expeditions for youth in remission and the getaway for youth under treatments. And behind this, there are some intervention plans. So we have some objectives, intervention objective, but we are not therapists. So we're not doing individual therapy in there. That's not the point. It's more of a support group type of thing. We are there to surround this group and assure you a great experience and make sure you are secure and safe during all of this experience. But you are doing your own experience with this group, and this is probably the strongest point of this program, of these programs. Some of the past projects we did since '96, right? There's been more than 60, as I said, but just to give you some example, in the year 2000, they've been with the group on Ellesmere Island. That's in the Arctic Circle in Nunavut, and they did some hiking over there. In 2003, they've been canoeing on the river, the Albany River in Ontario. We had the dog sledding in Yukon program in 2007. We had the sea kayaking program in Quebec in the Saguenay Fjord in 2009. A big rafting program in 2016, and so on. So many other types of program like this. And we had a few pilot projects also over the years. In 2012, we did a pilot with youth who had transplant. We've been canoeing on the Coulanges River in the province of Quebec. And last year was a bit of a strange year, right, for everyone. So we tried new things. So we thought it was a nice opportunity to try new things. We did a program with 30 to 39-year-old young adults, and this is what led us to decide to develop such program for the future as well. It was a fly fishing program in Quebec. We also did a family program with 4 families of youth 18 to 20 years old in remission. And we also did another program with women with a bit more advanced stage 4 breast cancer. That was also a fly fishing project. So we kept the idea of this 30 to 39-year-old participant programs that is going to be developed in the future. So when we're on the field, as I said, we're with a group of 10 to 14 participants, but we're also a big group surrounding, right? You're not by your own out there in the wilderness. I am there on the field with my colleague, Catherine, who's doing this job since 10 years now, so very experienced. We are both guides, but when we go on the field, we also, if we go outside the province, we hire a company who provide guides that know the territory we are visiting. And they help us with the cooking, with the itinerary. If there's any evacuation to do, they're there to guide us with that. We also have a medical team on each expedition. So on each expedition, there will be a physician, a nurse, and a psychosocial professional. So either a psychologist or a social worker. And this team, they are all volunteers, right? But they're giving their time to make sure that everybody's having a great time and they're healthy and happy in what they are living. So there's really nice resources. Most of the time, they're just chilling with the group and distributing plasters. But sometimes they can also help with medication. They can, of course, answer to any kind of medical emergency or non-emergency. And on each expedition, we also have a photographer blogger, also a volunteer. It's most of the time a journalist or a full-time photograph. Um, and this person is there to take pictures because there is one thing we do on our expedition because one of our tool is nature, right? And to make sure you really dive into this experience, we ask every participant on each expeditions to give back their electronic devices at the beginning of each program, and we give them back at the end of the program. So that includes cell phones, but also tablets or watches. So you don't really know what time it is. We're there to help you with that. And the medical team is there to help you if you need to take medication at certain time. So a big team, right? Surrounding you to make sure you have a great experience. You might ask yourself at this point, so how much does this cost if I'm from Quebec and I want to go to Alberta or whatever the destination? Well, it's free. That's a good thing about our programs. We realized pretty early in our, well, at the very beginning, right? Because we were working with an oncologist who was in contact with families already. So we are fully conscious that having cancer have a financial impact on families or young adults. So we decided to make sure that our programs will always be free for participants. So that includes everything, right? From transport from home. So if you need to take a cab to get to the airport, we can cover that. We're gonna cover the flight to get wherever we are leaving to. Your lodging, your meals, the guiding services, like everything that you will need, that's included, even your snacks on the road. We also have a big gear room in Chicoutimi. So we have a lot of outdoor equipment. So of course, we're not going to ask you to bring your own canoe, but we're not also going to ask you to buy a expensive Gore-Tex to get on the field with us. If you have one, good for you. You can bring it, but we also have stuff for everyone who would need anything, and we can lend you up to, warm socks if you don't have some. That's fine. We have that, and it's nice and clean equipment. We have nice sponsors who help us with that, so we make sure that we offer you the best that we can equipment. So it's not old things that are stinky or whatever. So it's free for all programs. What are the main benefits of this, right? Why would you decide to leave home, leave your comfort, to go out 100,000 kilometers away from home with people you don't know, in a place you've never been, and doing an activity you've never done before? Why would you take away your comfort so far? Well, there's very good reasons, and this is what I'm going to tell you right now. So for me, there's three main tools we use on the expedition. The first one is the group dynamic, as I told you a bit earlier. There are many things that comes out of this, but there's four main things I think that are positive for participants. First thing is this cohesion kind of feeling that you get when you're in a group in the wilderness. We become a very close family super early on the trip. I would say as soon as you sit in the bus, when we are using a bus, right? You get this feeling that you're part of something. So this is very important. There's also some kind of hope that can come out of being with others who had a similar experience and maybe are a bit further in their experience towards cancer. So just so you know, we accept participants up for the in remission projects. We accept participants up to 5 years after their treatments normally. So sometimes you might have some participants who are just out of their treatments more or less, and some who are a bit further in their process. One other benefit of the group dynamic is information sharing. It's just an informal moment to share any kind of information that you need, to talk about the challenge you're facing. And out of this, what is very strong is the sense of universality, or the sense that I'm not alone, right? There's others feeling this. And this is very important, and this is something that is underlined by our participants most of the time after their experience with us. The other tool that we use is adventure or sport challenge, right? The different activities that we do are challenging for many participants because most of the time they've never done it. So, and that's fine. We take you the point you are at the beginning of this trip and we're bringing you as far as we can. That can lead to a certain reappropriation of physical capacities for some. It will definitely bring everybody to surpass themselves in some ways that might be physical or psychological or maybe socially as well sometimes. And participants are learning a lot of things about being in the wilderness, how to tie knots, how to put up a tarp, or to maybe put up a tent, how to pack your sleeping bag, you know, all different kinds of things. And this can bring little victories. And in the end, it kind of boosts your self-confidence out of this trip. And the last element that we use during our programs is nature, right? The real contact with nature. We take away the electronics to make sure that you really dive into this and that you connect with the environment you're in and the people around. But mainly, we all know now that nature has many benefits. Here are some of the ones, some of the most common we hear. Reduction of blood pressure, sometimes cardiac rhythm. For some, it means for many, it means stress reduction as well. For some, it can accelerate post-operation remission. It can improve your mood, decrease some symptoms associated with anxiety or depression. It can also improve your interpersonal relations, or just like your general well-being can be positively affected by this, right? So we don't expect every participants to feel these benefits, but here are some benefits that you can get out of these trips and that we see on a regular basis with our participants. What's next? There's been I was talking generally of the kind of program that we do, what kind of benefits they can have on participants, but there's actually been a study on our programs a few years ago ran by Linda Paquette, who's a psychologist living in Chicoutimi in the University du Québec à Chicoutimi, and she found out after regarding different cohorts of adolescents who participated in our programs that it reinforced their self-esteem, it improved their relationship with peers, it decreased or dissipated sometimes their psychological distress, and it also brought some progress with identity development and autonomy. Some examples of it. So how do we work for recruitment, right? We build our programs up 9 to 12 months before the actual expedition take place. When we have a program in mind, for example, we're set, we're going to go to Ontario, going to canoe on whatever river, we're going to send an invitation by email to either people who are on our waiting list sometimes, who applied on a project before that they couldn't get in for any kind of reason. And we also send this to our recruiters all over the country. So we're in contact with oncologists, nurses in oncology services, social worker and psychologists who are in contact with oncology patients. And so we send them the project's details, the admission criteria. We try to be as precise as possible in this, make sure that you understand what is needed to get on this trip. Some programs are more demanding than others physically. If you go hiking, you need to be autonomous with your big backpack on your shoulders. We're going to say, for example, we're going to walk this distance per day. We're going to have to carry this kind of weight. So we try to be as precise as possible, so you or your medical team can evaluate if it's possible for you or not to take part in this trip. And as I said, you can participate in these trips up to 5 years after your treatment. So if a program is not appropriate, maybe next year there's going to be another one that's going to be more accessible for a patient. In the email, we also had a promotional poster. So for anybody working in an oncology department, it's an 11 by 17 inches poster, so you can print this easily and put it in your department so the participant can see it. Once you have all the information about it, so participants can apply themselves. You can go online on our website. There's an upcoming expedition section. From there, you can click on I want to get in application, applicate, and then you will fill a short a short form to give your name as someone interested for the program. It can also be filled by the medical team, right? Sometimes we have nurses from, I don't know, Alberta. They have patients, they talk about the program to their patients, they're interested, talk about it with the parents, maybe if they're adolescents, and then they're going to fill up the form, give the contact of the person, and we are going to contact every participant individually to get more information about the person, exchange, get to know each other a bit, and give more details about the program as well, see if the person is interested or not. And then if the person is interested, there is a longer inscription form to fill. And after this, to really confirm the participation of a young patient, we are going to send eventually a medical form to the medical team. It needs to be filled by the oncologist himself. So we don't, or herself, we don't run this through the patient. We deal directly with the medical team in the hospital. And so this is what closes the deal. After this, we generally have 1 or 2 preparatory meetings online most of the time now. We go over logistic details, equipment, stuff like that before. This is generally 2 to 3 weeks before departure. And then we leave. So that's about it for the process. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, this morning. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot of information. I totally invite you to go on our website. So tipoftoes.com, pointdepied.com. One thing I didn't mention, maybe it's open to both French and English participants. All of our expeditions are bilingual. If you speak both languages, good for you. If you don't, it's okay. We'll help you with that. There is a few videos that you can go see on our YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, so I can provide this maybe in the link below this video if you want to see a bit more about who we are, but with more images than just my face. And if you have any question, you can contact us at any time. It will be a pleasure for us to answer any kind of question you may have. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope we get to either collaborate with you if you are a medical professional, or bring you on an expedition and live this trip together in the future. Thank you.
2 and 1. Hello everyone, welcome back. Thank you, Marie-Michelle, for describing a little bit more about the On the Tip of the Toes Foundation. They sound like such exciting expeditions, and it's all free. That's one of the things that blew my mind when you mentioned it. So we would love to get the word out there, and if anyone is interested, again, the website is tipoftoes.com. I included it in the chat so that you can check that out, and then if you want to follow their socials, I've included their Facebook and their Instagram link there. And we'll include all of this in the description section when we archive and publish this on our website or our YouTube channel tomorrow, so you can check it out. But again, thank you so much, Marie-Michelle, for sharing. And again, that's On the Tip of the Toes Foundation, or sur le point des pieds. Really tried with that one. Thank you. So you can see that I have my apron on and my chef coat, because I wear 2 hats here, and we are going to start preparing for our cooking demonstration. So that starts at 12 o'clock, same link, so you can just leave this link on, and so we'll be starting in about 25 minutes or so. And Daniela and I have some really, really tasty recipes and some great information. The focus today is going to be around some recipe ideas that you can take on a picnic or enjoy outdoors. So we're going to be talking a little bit about food safety. We're going to be talking about some protein and protein options and how to include them in your meals. And we also have a really nice non-alcoholic refreshing mocktail recipe at the end that we are super excited to teach you. So thank you again to Marlie Smith from the AWA program at Princess Margaret, and for sharing all of the information from the AWA program, and Marie-Michelle as well from On the Tip of the Toes Foundation. Stay tuned. If you would like to check out more of our recipes, you can check out our website at elixirkitchen.ca. If you haven't already, I please encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell, because that sort of lets you know when we have an upcoming class. And so our next class is in August, as I'm reaching for the date, August 18th is our next Community Connections class. So you can check that out, and you'll, again, click on the notification bell, it'll sort of give you a heads up when we have that scheduled. But that's about it from me for now. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Stay tuned for our cooking demonstration beginning shortly at 12. Thanks. Uh, always something.
One, two, three, 4, 5.
live. Welcome to our Elixir Kitchen. We have an amazing class for you today, so thank you so much for joining us. My name is Jeremy Capone. I am the wellness chef, and I am joined by my amazing co-instructor, partner of the kitchen, Daniela Fiorini. Hello, Daniela.
Hi. Sorry I can't be there in the kitchen with you. So I'm Daniela Fiorini. I'm a dietitian at Princess Margaret Cancer Center, and then I have the wonderful opportunity of teaming up with Jeremy. I was going to say once a month, but more than once a month, to do these nutrition and culinary demonstrations. And today we are sharing 3 nutritious and budget-friendly recipes that we think are perfect for an outdoor or, you know what, even an indoor picnic. I mean, if the weather's too hot outside, have your own indoor picnic. So they are a lentil apricot herb salad. The second recipe is a grilled pork tenderloin and fennel sandwich. Sounds intriguing. And the last is a refreshing pineapple basil mocktail. And before I throw it over to Jeremy, I just wanted to let you know that we know that cancer and cancer treatment can change the way your body digests food or how your appetite is good or bad. So there are some nutrients that you might not be able to digest. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and we'll give you some options as well. But definitely, if you are in a special diet and are interested in some of the foods and recipes and ingredients we're talking about, talk to your own dietitian about that and see if it's okay, or your healthcare team. But right now, we're going to jump right into the lentil apricot herb salad.
Yes, thank you, Daniela. So yeah, we're gonna start with the first one, which is lentils. We're making a lentil salad. That's gonna be the bulk of this recipe. And what I like about this recipe is it's really more assembly versus cooking. So not only are the ingredients that we're choosing are more on the budget-friendly side, but even just from the cooking skills required, this is going to be much more accessible than some of your recipes that might require more cooking or pots and pans. Here we're just sort of assembling and putting some ingredients together. Did you have anything to start off with? I think I cut you off.
So this first recipe is what we would call a great meatless meal option, and it's high in fiber. Protein. So the lentils and the tofu are amazing plant-based proteins. And as Jeremy said, it's easy on the pocketbook or your budget. It's a delicious way to ease into that plant-forward way of eating. And the apricots and the cucumbers, which are high in vitamin C, help our body to absorb more of the plant source of iron from the lentils and the tofu.
Wonderful. So why don't we start off with the first ingredient? We're going to be using lentils, and make it easy for yourself. We're using just canned lentils, right? So they're already cooked. All the work's already been really done for you. So all you have to do is open them, drain, and rinse. Okay, and then when we're ready to add it to your soups, you can have it like as a little side dish and add some dressing. Or in this case, we're going to make a really nice cold salad with it. You can absolutely cook your own lentils from scratch. Those are pretty easy in terms of like the pulses in preparation. They don't really require any soaking. Red lentils take like 10, 12 minutes to cook, so it doesn't really take much time at all. So you can definitely do it, and you're going to save even more if you go that route, if you're doing it from dry. But even if you're doing it from canned, it's not a super expensive item. And they have these, again, really convenient for you. So I'm going to add that to a bowl. I'm going to bring the camera down. Let's get right into the action here. All right, so we're going to add some lentils. So I've already drained and rinsed these. Just put them into a can. I'm going to go with 2 cans, but you can definitely, if you're making this for more people, absolutely like double the recipe, bulk it up a little bit more. Now the lentils themselves, I mean, the texture, because they're cooked, is going to be on the softer side. So that's why we want to choose some other ingredients that have some more texture to it, right? It's a little more crunch. So we went with some cucumber here. Again, pretty simple and just washed and diced. And then some apricots, which you're going to start to see in season. I found some really nice Niagara apricots here, and we'll probably start to see more of them soon. And this is a fun way to include fruit into your salads, which you probably don't see as often, but they add a really, really nice texture. They add a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of tartness. And then Daniela, like you mentioned, I guess the vitamin C in there as well, which is going to be super helpful for this recipe. So if you don't have apricots, or if you don't like apricots, or they're just not accessible, I mean, you can use peaches in this would be really good as well. You can use like nectarines would be really nice. So you can definitely switch it up a little bit. But what I'm going to do with the apricots is pretty much the same as the cucumber. Just give them a small dice. That way everything is pretty uniform in size. And you can, I mean, you can do big slices if you want, but I'm gonna make them a little bit smaller. And then, I mean, it adds a really nice color too. Like I mean, I love lentils, but they're not the most, I guess, pleasing ingredient on a plate, right? So it's always good to plus up the appearance of some color. All right, so here's our apricots. We're gonna throw them in here, and you can use dried apricots too. Like that would work in this recipe for sure. It would give you that apricot flavor, especially if it's out of season. But you like that apricot flavor. You would just use less, right? Because you definitely don't need as much of the dried apricot. I'm gonna put some cucumber in here as well. And then we're gonna sort of plus up the flavor with some fresh herbs. Again, summertime, you know, it's usually pretty easy. If you're lucky enough to be growing your own, amazing. Here's a great way to use them. And really any herbs you like. That's why I think we put just herbs, a very general term in the title of the recipe, because you can use mint, would be amazing in this. Basil, I just have parsley here. I actually intended to use basil, but they didn't have it at the grocery store. And so there you go. If you have the same conundrum, you know, you can absolutely pivot on the fly and just use a different herb. The thing here is I like to be very generous. So this isn't your typical like lettuce, you know, based salad. But I'm gonna sort of get the green in here through a generous amount of herbs. So I'm gonna go for like a nice big cup or big handful of that parsley or mint, whatever you're using. And here's pretty much the base of our recipe. Now, originally we had some cheese to add to this, which is a nice way to, you know, add a little bit more flavor, a little bit of that saltiness. So we had some feta, but we thought, you know what, why don't we keep this completely plant-based, and we'll make our own sort of tofu feta. And this was actually a recipe. It was inspired by one of my previous students that had joined us. And he shared this really great recipe for tofu feta, which I've tried and is incredible. And it's going to be very tasty in this salad. So if you don't want to make your own tofu feta, no problem. If you like cheese, go for the cheese. We're just going to show you just an alternative, a different version. So we're using extra firm tofu. And what you want to do is try to get as much of the water out as possible, because the tofu itself is essentially like a flavor sponge. Okay, and so because it has a lot of that water, what we want to do is replace that water with a dressing, right? So very similar to how feta would be brined in like this, like salty sort of brine. We want to add our own sort of flavorful brine to this tofu to give it that similar feel, that similar sort of briny, vinegary, you know, cheesy feel. So we want to squeeze out as much of the water as we can. So I just have some paper towel here. And then we're going to just crumble it You can dice it up if you like it to be like, you know, perfectly cubed, but I like it sort of irregular in sort of shape. And so I'm just gonna crumble the tofu. And
So while you're doing that, Jeremy,
yeah.
maybe I'll just jump in about tofu, because I think there's still a lot of concern about having soy in the diet. And the thing about soy, it's a great plant protein. It actually has all the essential amino acids needed to make protein and to help build muscle. And when you look at the most recent research, yes, the molecules in tofu and in soy might look like estrogen, and they refer to them as phytoestrogen, estrogen from plant, but they look the same, but they don't act the same. So there isn't that concern that it's going to increase your risk for cancer. In fact, it has a lot of good plant compounds in it that can help us manage risk of different types of comorbidities. So I just wanted to throw that in. I know there's a lot of fear around it, and I'm hoping just knowing that will encourage you to try it, because it looks really good as part of this salad.
Absolutely. So here we have our crumbles. It already looks kind of like a crumbly feta at this point. But here's our sort of crumbled tofu. And now we want to add our flavor. So we're going to sort of add a brine to it. So it has this very similar feel to feta. And so what we're going to do is start off with some vinegar. You can add any vinegar. You can even add lemon juice if you prefer lemon juice. I like either white wine or red wine vinegar to this. So I'm going to give it a decent amount, a few tablespoons at least, because we want to kind of have it soak up as much of that brine as possible. In terms of herbs, I have dried oregano, but if you like, dried basil, dried mint, if you like chilies, like if you like a little spicier, you can put some dried chili flakes in here. You can even add lemon zest. Like, here's an opportunity to really just punch up with whatever flavor you like. Garlic, you can put some like garlic powder or something like that in here. It would be nice. I'm keeping it pretty simple, so just a little bit of oregano. I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper. I like the pepperiness and what it does with this tofu feta. So nice cracks of black pepper, and then a little bit of salt as well. Now this is great because you are in control of how much you want to add. Feta tends to be like a saltier cheese. So we want to get a little bit of that saltiness, but we don't have to make it as salty. So just a little pinch of that, and we're going to toss it up. Just make sure that everything is coated well in that brine, in that vinegar. And if you wanted to really absorb some of that flavor, you can store this. You can store this in a mason jar or a Tupperware, put it into the fridge overnight, and then you can use it the next day. That will sort of have maximum absorption. Otherwise, put it into the fridge, and you can use it, pretty much right away, which is what we're going to do. I actually made some in advance. So I only made this like a couple hours ago, so it's not like it was sitting in the fridge overnight, but even at this point, it's going to be really, really flavorful. I can even like smell that brininess, which is really, really nice. So that is ready. So we're going to set that aside to top, and then we're going to make a quick dressing for this salad as well. And we'll keep it pretty simple. So I'm going to do olive oil, and we'll have equal parts olive oil to our vinegar. Again, I have red wine vinegar here, so I'm just going to use it, but you can use apple cider vinegar, lemon. So about equal parts, small pinch of salt, and I'm going to throw in some fresh garlic. You can definitely hear, again, use granulated garlic if that's what you have. And I'm using a rasp here. I know I've showed this quite a few times, but this little fine grater makes quick work of mincing garlic or ginger. So we have our minced. It's going to go in. And I'm doing this in a mason jar. You can definitely just whisk it in a bowl if you like, but I find it a lot easier. Just make sure that the lid is tight. Otherwise, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, thinking about our picnic and if you're going outdoors, I like the mason jar because I guess you would just put the dressing in the mason jar, keep it like that. When you're ready to eat it, that's when you would add it to your salad, right? Yeah. So great idea for a picnic to use a mason jar. Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. Great point. Especially if you have like a more traditional, like leafy salad, you don't want it to get soggy. So yeah, great way to transport. With something like this, I don't mind if it's sitting in the dressing a little bit longer because that's going to just help to absorb.
Oh, good to know.
A little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, especially if you're using like a more delicate salad, transporting the dressing separately is a great tip. Yeah, for sure. All right, so we're going to add our dressing. And we'll do a little tossy toss here. Now, I guess one thing to keep in mind too is, we're talking about going on a picnic, and especially given the heat that we're experiencing now, it's a really good idea to pack everything in a cooler, ice packs, really to just try to keep the temperature as cold as possible. Keep your ingredients as cold as possible so that they last a little bit longer, because you don't want to leave your food out in the heat for too long, right? So
Definitely. The maximum we say is 2 hours at room temperature, but that is even less when the weather is as hot as it is. So there are some wonderful thermal packs available, cooler packs. And like Jeremy said, you could just add some ice to it or freeze up your favorite beverage, probably, so that it'll keep everything cold, and then you can enjoy that beverage at the picnic.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so we've tossed up the salad, and now I'm just going to crumble on some of our tofu feta, which has this really, really nice briny flavor with the oregano and the pepper.
It really does look like feta. Is that Carlos? Is that Carlos?
It was, yes, it was Carlos. Shared his recipe was a little bit different. This is just an inspiration from it, but I love that you can sort of flavor it whichever way you want, right? But here we go. Here is our lentil and apricot salad with our tofu feta on top. And yeah, that's our first recipe.
So that would be about how many servings?
I'm gonna eat all of this, Daniela. No.
Is that you're gonna eat all of it?
Okay.
Okay. No, the reason I ask is I was trying to do some calculations. I actually think so. If we were just looking at the lentils, about half a cup of lentils gives you 8 grams of fiber. So we're looking at trying to up our fiber game, right? We want to try to get it up to 25 grams a day for women, about 38 grams a day for men. So getting 8 grams of fiber from the lentils, a bit more from the apricots and the cucumber, you're probably almost at a third of your daily fiber requirement just with this salad. But I will add, there's always that addition, that if you have not been eating a lot of food with fiber, to introduce it slowly. You want your body to get used to that amount of fiber, and then you'll have less gas or bloating.
Yeah, perfect. And yes, so this one here would probably be like four servings.
4 servings, yeah, okay.
All right, so there's our first recipe. Awesome. If anyone has any questions, I don't know if I mentioned, but if anyone watching has any questions for Daniela or myself, please feel free to ask in the chat. So we have that little chat function on the side, and we'd be more than happy to answer your questions. But we'll move on to recipe number 2.
Yes. So I'm going to talk a little bit longer before we get into preparing this recipe. So after a cancer diagnosis and during cancer treatment, protein intake is very important. We needed to preserve muscle, to promote the healing, and to tolerate treatment. And sometimes it gets confusing because we talk about a plant-based diet, a plant-forward diet, and that is important, yes. During treatment, however, you do not need to, how do I say this? Let's talk about animal sources of protein. So animal sources of protein, that includes the lean red meats, that includes the pork tenderloin used today, are higher in amino acids, and these are actually the building blocks of protein, and they're most effective for the growth and maintenance of muscle mass. And with a cancer diagnosis, muscle seems to be something that we lose pretty quickly, or with a low appetite, we're not eating enough. So because this is the most effective, animal protein is the most effective at building muscle, experts recommend that if you're undergoing treatment or you have cancer and your appetite is low, to make 2/3 of your protein intake from lean meats, fish, poultry, and dairy, and 1/3 of your protein intake from plant sources. So the reason for that is, like I said, the muscle building, but it's also because to get the same benefit, you would need to eat a larger amount of plant-based proteins. And loss of appetite, feeling full, early satiety are common symptoms when you have cancer and undergoing treatment. So it's hard to get all the protein you need just from plant foods. So this is a little bit of a shift from what you would do if you're looking at prevention. And then the pork tenderloin, just a little bit about that. It is a high quality protein. It's naturally free of trans fats. It's mostly saturated fat and unsaturated fat. And it contains 13 essential nutrients. And we'll talk a little bit more about portion size and pairing it with fennel as Jeremy puts the recipe together. So thanks for giving me that opportunity to chat a bit more about that.
Absolutely, thank you, Daniela. So yes, we're going to be making a pork tenderloin sandwich. And I guess this is a cut maybe that's not used as often, I think, because of not knowing whether this cut is okay to include, right? But it is a leaner cut, and because of that, it is very easy to dry out. So we want to make sure, especially when we're cooking pork tenderloin, for food safety purposes and even just for flavor, because we still want to dry it out, is to use a food thermometer. And that's always a good rule of thumb when cooking any meats, especially if you're cooking outdoors, if you're using a barbecue or grill, to always have a food thermometer on hand. Again, it's just going to mean that your food is safer, right? We're practicing food safety, but it's also going to improve your cooking skills, because you're going to be able to get to that perfect doneness that you're looking for without drying it out, which is important. So we're using pork tenderloin. Usually comes a little bit longer. I just cut it in half here, and it's usually pretty well trimmed. So there really isn't much work that you have to do. The only thing that if you see some excess of this white part here, you can trim that off. We call that silver skin, and it's just like a fiber that is really kind of tough. And so we want to remove it so that it's not super chewy. And what you can do is just take a knife and just ever so slightly just run your knife underneath that white part, and then we can trim it off. So let's see if I can point it down a little bit further. We're going to take the knife and just run it underneath that white part, and just the really pronounced areas. It's, you might have a couple little streaks of fat on the outside, which is really not much considering how lean this cut is. But if you see a lot of that sort of white membrane, we can remove that off the top, just like this. So just a little bit of work. Really, that's it. We can discard that. And now to season, we're going to keep this pretty simple. What I like to do is use a sauce to almost act as a glue on the outside, so that any seasoning that we add to it is going to stick. So you can just very simply use like a grapeseed oil or something like that. I like to use mustard, and this is just a grainy mustard, but you can even use yellow mustard if that's what you have, or if you have like a favorite barbecue sauce, you can use that as well. Just to make it really simple for yourself, we're going to scoop a little bit of that on. It might seem like a lot, but it's not going to taste like a lot. Because we're grilling it, some of it's going to come off, and what we want to do is just sort of spread it around the entire pork tenderloin. You can use a brush. I'm just using a spoon here. And again, it might seem like a lot of mustard, but this is going to add a lot of flavor, and it's going to help all of our other spices stick to the outside. So I'm going to go all the way around. Like I said, I've done this with like a barbecue sauce before, so if you're not a big fan of mustard, you can definitely do this with a barbecue sauce as well.
Jeremy, is this where I admit I've never cooked pork tenderloin?
Sure, right. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you're making it look very easy, so I may try.
Yes, it is very, very easy cut to work with, and it's also one of the more economical cuts too, which is great, especially with groceries. It seems to be getting higher and higher, the cost of groceries. So pork tenderloin is a great protein to try. I mean, if you were looking for a leaner cut, like I think the example that we were comparing to is like a chicken breast.
Yeah.
Right, it's leaner. You're definitely getting more bang for your buck with the pork tenderloin. You can easily get 4 servings out of this versus a chicken breast where you might have like 1, maybe 2 servings, and they'll probably be comparable in price, if not a little bit cheaper with the pork tenderloin. So good economical choice to use. And now we can sort of crust it with a little bit of spice. You can use like a nice herb, like a dried herb mix on top, or if you just like black pepper and salt, you can go for that. This is just some ground fennel seed. So I love the combination of fennel and the pork tenderloin together. And I also threw in some oregano in here as well. So we're going to just add a generous sprinkling of this on top. Again, if you're grilling it, even if I'm doing it in a pan, most of it is going to fall off. So definitely be a little more generous with this on the outside. And the mustard is going to sort of do its job of acting like a glue on the outside. There we go. And then we can add a little bit of salt to the outside as well. Again, you can season a little bit before, and then you can season a little after, and that way you kind of know you've added enough. So we don't need to add too much. But again, most of it is going to fall off as we're grilling. So just a little bit now, a little bit after. Right. You can, if you want this to season a little bit longer, you can definitely stick that in the fridge for up to 6 to 8 hours, up to even overnight, as long as it's refrigerated, no problem. And then you can cook it the next day. So if I want to grill this tomorrow, I can definitely make it in advance. Otherwise, it's just as good if I'm using it now. Maybe not as intensely flavored, but it'll still taste great. So we're gonna go ahead and grill this. As you can see, I'm not outside. So we're gonna mimic the outdoor grilling experience with our grill pan here, and which is a great way if you don't have access to the outdoors. We can show you how to do it inside, but I'll share some tips as if I was also grilling outside as well. So we're gonna go ahead and add this to our grill, and this is just a medium heat. I don't need it to be too hot.
So
Sorry.
Jeremy,
Yep.
I'm just going to interrupt for a second. Just want to talk about when you put it in the fridge, right? So from a food safety perspective again, because this is raw meat, you want to make sure that it's far from your ready-to-eat foods, okay? So refrigerating it is important for food safety, but also you want to make sure that it is far from your ready-to-eat foods because it is a raw meat.
Yes, great point. And I would definitely use a little bit of cling film for sure. Just wrap it up, just to be sure you're not touching anything. And in the general rule of thumb, which is, I mean, it's used quite a bit in the restaurant industry, and something you can definitely practice at home is to keep any of those raw foods on the lowest level of your fridge. And obviously, like I mentioned, you're ready to eat ones above. Just in case, I mean, you don't experience it as much at home, but you can. If anything does drip off, you don't want it to be dripping off into your ready to eat food. So always on the lowest level. All right, so you can see that I've added it to our grill here. And I just want to get a little bit, I'm going to grill sear the outside, get a little bit of color, and then we're going to transfer that into our oven to finish cooking the rest of the way through. So I have the oven set at 350. Again, nothing too aggressive, and we're going to let it finish in there. Now, if I was cooking this outside, the thing in terms of food safety that you want to keep an eye on is you don't want contact between the flame itself and the actual meat, right? So there's a few ways in which we can do that and make sure that we're controlling and being expert grillers, is to start on a medium to low side, just to get a little bit of that sear, and then move it to the other side of the barbecue, which should be off, okay? And what we're gonna do is using indirect heat to cook the protein. So when you close the grill at that point, that's sort of reenacting what we're going to be doing with the oven here. Okay, so you're creating sort of an oven with this circulation of heat on the barbecue. So your heat source will be on one side of the barbecue, whereas your ingredients will be on the other side where there is no flame underneath. So the heat will actually cook your product, but you're not going to risk any contact of the flame, which is great. And another tip that I think we shared in our last class, which is always something that I was taught this by another expert griller. Not that I'm an expert griller at all, but I was taught this by a more seasoned griller who shared to keep a little spritz bottle. You can buy them at like the dollar store, like little spritz bottles, and fill them with some water. You can even add a little bit of lemon in there, vinegar to season it up. But the idea is that anytime you do see any flame that might start to flare up, because any fat that's dripping off of your food is going to it's going to ignite that flame, right? Because it's going to want to sort of shoot up there. You can use that spritz bottle to keep the flames at bay. It sort of calms it down. You can even sort of keep your ingredients moist and seasoned by giving it a spritz a few times to prevent it from drying out. So that's a nice little tool to have on site to make sure that you don't have any of those flare-ups.
That's excellent to bring that up, Jeremy, because even as part of a cancer preventive diet, it's okay to have meat. We're okay to have it, they say 500 grams per week, which if you were to look at a 100-gram portion, which might be the size of the palm of your hand or a deck of cards, that would be like having that size 3 to 5 times per week. And part of the research is around cooking meats at a high temperature. That's one of the risks. So that was a great example, Jeremy, of showing how to prevent that high heat happening when you're on the grill, and the creation of those dangerous compounds when fat does cause the flames to happen.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're going to grill this for a couple minutes per side. Again, it's not doing its full cooking here. It's going to finish in the oven. And then we're going to prepare two other elements for our sandwich. And we're going to start off with a really nice sort of pickled fennel, which I love, has a little bit of acidity, nice little bit of crunch, great to add to salads. And so we're using fennel, which might be new to some people. It is this sort of white bulb with these light green fronds on top. Now I've cut this one in half, so just imagine 2 halves of that together. It doesn't usually look like this. But it has, I've always described it as sort of the crunch and texture of celery, but with sort of this amplified flavor of that anise, or I don't love saying black licorice because anytime I describe something as tasting like black licorice, it might turn some people off. I love black licorice, but that anise flavor, it's a licorice flavor, that anise flavor, it's a mild version of it with the fennel, but it tastes great. So we're gonna use this. If you don't like fennel, or if you maybe can't find fennel, you can do the exact same technique with carrots, peeled carrots, or even cucumber. Exact same technique, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the fennel. I'm gonna cut the very tops off, the stems here. These stalks are really, really fibrous. You don't have to throw them out. Wash them, and then you can add this to make a vegetable stock. They're super flavorful, but they're just super stringy and fibrous, so you wouldn't use that. And then the fronds here, wash them up, and you can use this as a herb. Really, really nice, very, very flavorful, so great ingredient to not throw out. And we're going to slice the fennel. Now, I don't know if you can see, it's so white that it's like the light is bleeding it out a bit, but the fiber of the fennel grows from the bottom to the top like this. And so we want to cut against that so that it's not stringy when we chew on it. If I would have cut it with the lines, and sometimes you're going to get that kind of stringiness that, again, like celery, sometimes you get that stringiness. So we're going to cut against that fennel lengthwise. So we use a knife and just carefully cut it, slice it down. The thinner, the better, but it doesn't have to be perfect.
So as you're doing that, Jeremy, fennel, white, right? The color is white. So we talk a lot about having colorful fruits and vegetables, getting your different phytonutrients. Phytonutrients basically being compounds that you get in plants that have some anti-cancer, health protective nutrients. But white is included in that. So don't forget your white foods like the fennel. It actually has a good amount of fiber and a good amount of vitamin C, probably about 12% of our daily need for vitamin C, and some potassium and manganese as well.
Beautiful. So here's our sliced fennel. Oh, I hear an echo. All right, there we go. There's our sliced fennel. There we go. You can see it there. And we're gonna just dress this up with a little bit of vinegar. So we wanna make almost like a light pickle of the fennel. Okay, so any vinegar, you can use lemon too, you can definitely use citrus, but the vinegar is just a little bit more acidic, so it's gonna do a quicker job. Apple cider vinegar, white wine vinegar. I have rice wine vinegar here, so whatever you want. We're just gonna add a couple tablespoons, just enough to coat it and to toss it up. Again, just a small pinch of salt and mini tongs. There we go. And we're just going to just lightly toss it just so that the fennel is coated. And again, same technique if I was doing cucumber, or you can do peel, like use a vegetable peeler to do peeled carrots, like ribbons of carrot. That works really, really well. And again, for a sandwich, this just adds a really nice texture, really nice crunch, but also a really nice acidity, which is going to act as like a flavor enhancer. All right, so it's tossed up. And again, the longer you leave this, the more pickly it will taste. Is that a word? No, probably not. Pickly. So you can throw that in the fridge. Again, you can do it in advance, or we're doing it sort of a la minute, or really ready to go right now. Okay, so there's our pickly topping, and then a quick dressing. So again, you can use your favorite. If you like a mayonnaise, go for a mayonnaise. We're gonna make a lighter version. So this is just plain yogurt, just plain Greek yogurt. We're gonna add a couple spoons here. And we're going to take some lemon, all right? And we're gonna use the zest of the lemon as well. So again, that rasp, that zest is going to have just some incredible essential oils in there from the lemon. Make it super flavorful. And then we'll also take half the lemon and squeeze it on top. So again, pretty simple. It's just like a lemon yogurt spread, which is going to add this really nice creaminess for the sandwich.
What I like about using the Greek yogurt instead of the mayonnaise, Jeremy, is that it's also adding some more protein to this dish, right? So if it was a regular yogurt, it would be 4 grams per half cup, but using Greek yogurt, it's almost a little bit more than double. Like half a cup would have 10 grams. And then we've talked about skyr as well. Not so much a yogurt, but more of an Icelandic cheese. It would have about 12 grams of protein in a half cup. So other ways you can sneak in a bit more protein into your diet or here onto our pork tenderloin sandwich.
Absolutely. I'm just doing a last minute addition here because I realized I had those little fennel tops. So we'll just add them to the yogurt as well. And you have
looks pretty.
Really nice spread. And we're ready to assemble. So this pork tenderloin is ready to go into the oven. Seared both sides. And again, I'm looking for 165. So we want to make sure, just for safety reasons, we want to make sure that we're cooking it to 165. And so we're going to use that food thermometer. Now, what you can do is temp it when it's hitting around, it's in the oven, and you can leave it for like, I would say at 350, probably leave it for like 10 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, and check. And when it's in around that 160, 161 range, it's going to continue to rise up. So you can turn off the oven at that point, and you can take it out. Now, always keep it temped. It will hit that 165, and that's what you're looking for. You definitely want that 165, okay? If it's still not at 165, then you definitely want to continue to cook it longer, okay? So that's going to go into the oven. And you've done one in advance, of course.
I see you use the parchment paper again. I like that trick to minimize cleanup, right?
Yes, yes. Love the parchment. Definitely going to save on some cleanup there for sure. And we're going to go ahead and we'll take one of these pork tenderloins here, which I've already temped, so I know that it's cooked. And then for the sandwich, we're just going to slice it as thin as we can, just to get some really, really nice medallion slices for this sandwich.
And while you're doing that, Jeremy, I'll just something else about pork. in Canada, there's people that are concerned about growth hormones, but I wanted you to know that in Canada, they cannot use growth hormones in pork, so you don't have to worry about that aspect. Mm-hmm. And then cooking it well, like Jeremy has recommended, also helps to kill off what we talk about as trichinella with pork, right? But if you cook it the way Jeremy has described, you cook it well, you store it properly in the fridge, it is safe to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have a bun here. So this is just a multi-grain sort of, it was a ciabatta bun. So I cut it in half. You can use they have like multi-grain French sticks now, or I guess if you're not looking for the multi-grain, right, Daniela, you can use.
Yeah, if you need to avoid fiber, let's say you're having some GI problems, gastrointestinal problems from treatment, and you've been told to go with a lower fiber during this time, then definitely just go with the white bun. Maybe instead of the fennel, you can opt for something else, or just have it have the dressing, which looks really good, with the pork on the bun.
Beautiful. So yeah, so I just put a nice generous amount of that dressing on the bottom, and then we'll layer these slices. I'm being much more delicate than I probably would at home, so go at your own speed, but we're gonna layer some of those nice thin slices on top. So just like that. And then we're gonna top this with our crunchy fennel.
That's great.
And there we have our delicious pork tenderloin and pickled fennel sandwich.
So again, we're going on our picnic. How would you wrap this up, Jeremy, to put in our picnic basket? Well, not our picnic basket, our picnic cooler, because we want to keep this cold.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can use just even like saran wrap would be a good way, to wrap it up nice and tight. And then I would even wrap that up in foil if you have it as well. And then right into the cooler. Absolutely, because you definitely want to keep it. You're looking for 4 degrees and under, right? Like that's sort of the ideal temperature in there. But yeah, otherwise, if you're not taking it with you, you can enjoy right away, as is.
Which I think you're going to do, because I see that little smirk on your face.
Oh yeah, that the I'm hungry smirk. Yeah. All right, so that's recipe number 2.
Great. So I'll go into our third recipe, is a refreshing pineapple basil cocktail, which probably would be perfect for today. So this is a spectacular summer drink. You can sip all afternoon long, chatting with your friends at the cottage or chilling solo on the backyard patio, and you will not wake up with a hangover the next day, okay? It's a great non-alcoholic way to enjoy yourself with friends and family, not feel left out. You're going to be well hydrated, and you're also, if you pair it with that first dish that Jeremy made, the lentil apricot herb salad, you're also getting a good amount of vitamin C from the ingredients in this drink. So that will also help you absorb more of that plant-based iron in that first dish. So we like to talk about foods helping foods. And so this is where that comes into play.
All right, we're ready to construct this mocktail. We'll make sure we have some ice. Okay, so the same rules apply whether you're making a mocktail or a cocktail. Is really one balance of flavor. Okay, so even though this doesn't contain alcohol, we still have access to such an amazing array of wonderful, flavorful ingredients that we can add to a mocktail and make just a beautifully refreshing drink with a nice balance of flavor. So what we're going to be using is something acidic. Okay, so it's going to have that sourness, that acidity, which also acts to enhance some of the other flavors in the drink. So we're using lime juice. That's going to be our acid, our acidity. You want something sweet, so we're going to balance out that sourness, that acidity with something sweet. So we're going to be using some pineapple. And you can use fresh or frozen. This was actually frozen pineapple because we love using frozen fruits and vegetables here. Again, much more economical choice. All the prep is already done for you, and your shelf life is much longer versus if you're buying fresh. Especially if you're watching your grocery budget. You don't want food spoiling in the fridge because then that's just disappointing as well, right? So using frozen is a great option. So this is just frozen that I've let sit for like 5 minutes just to defrost a little bit. So we're going to use that. So we have our sour, we have our sweet, and then something herbaceous to kind of tie everything together. Herbaceous, I think, is a word. Correct me if I'm wrong. Not just making up new words the entire class here. And so mint is sort of like that more common choice, I guess, when we're thinking of herbs and drinks, right? And mint is wonderful. You can definitely use mint. Really nice and refreshing. We're going to be using something a little bit different. So we're going to be using basil, which is one of my favorite summer herbs. Daniela, I don't know what your favorite summer herb is.
It has to be basil. And I'm just smiling because every time I go to the grocery store, they have plants and plants and plants. So definitely easy to pick up a plant, bring it home, put it on your balcony or your back patio and have some fresh basil.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great way to have your own little personal potted herb. But maybe for those that are watching, I don't know if anyone wants to chime in. Please let us know what is your favorite herb to use. You can just throw it in the chat. We'd love to share. Okay, so that's our sort of herb that's going to tie everything together. So we have our sour, we have our sweet, and we have that sort of plant, that herb that's going to help to create balance to this drink. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some flavor muddling here. You may have heard that term before. So we're going to have our glass, and we're going to add, fork it is, we're going to add, so this is for one drink. We're going to add probably a 1/4 cup of the pineapple chunks to this. All right. We're going to add let's say about 4 good-sized leaves of basil to this here. And we're also going to add the zest, a little bit of the zest from our lime in this. And again, like I mentioned, that zest is going to have all those like essential oils from the fruit. So it's going to add a big, big punch of flavor. Because we want this to be refreshing, it's going to be light, but we want it to have flavor for sure. All right, so we have those ingredients. And now muddling, mint. Someone commented mint. Yes, mint is great as well. Thank you for sharing. And so we have our pineapple, we have our lime zest, we have our basil, and then we're going to muddle. So what muddling is essentially, I guess the most layman way to describe it is you're crushing the ingredients with a tool to really extract as much of that flavor out as possible. So this is a very common technique for bartenders and cocktail makers. So we're going to do the exact same thing. This is a muddler. That is a thing. You can buy a muddler. You can also use the bottom of a spoon because it also looks like just a thick wooden spoon. So if you don't have a muddler, don't worry about it. Just use like a wooden spoon, and that'll work as well. And what we're going to do is add a bit of pressure, but we're going to crush the pineapple and the basil and that lime zest together. And again, you might not think this does a lot, but it actually does help to extract quite a bit of flavor from these ingredients. And I can already smell the basil hitting me and the lime hitting me. So it's already working its magic. And I would say 5 seconds of muddling, like you don't have to be here forever. And so we're creating this almost like mash. The pineapple is turned into almost a puree at this point. And that is going to be the big flavor components for this drink. Now we're going to add our lime juice. So we're adding, for one drink, we're going to add about half an ounce. So that's about 1 tablespoon. Okay, so half an ounce. Now, if you have, sometimes at the bottom of like your Tupperware, if you're using fresh or frozen pineapple, some of that juice will be left behind. You can add a little splash of that as well. So that'll just give it some more of that pineapple flavor. And that's it. We're gonna top that off with a little bit of ice to make it really nice and cold. And if you were taking this with you, what I would say is to do that muddling, and then you can store that in a mason jar or Tupperware, and then bring that with you, and then finish it right before you serve it. So if you have your ice with you in a cooler, you can top it off with your ice right before you serve it, and then to finish, some really nice bubbly. So this is sparkling water. We're just going to add a really nice bit of refreshness, so refreshing aspect to the dish. So we're going to top it off with a little bit of that bubbly. And again, this is why you're going to do it fresh, because you don't want to lose those bubbles. And we can just get a little bit of a stir. Not too much, because we don't want to lose those bubbles. And we're going to get a little fancy here, a little bougie.
Yeah, let's get fancy. Do you have a little umbrella?
I love my version of fancy. It's just a slice of lime on top, but
Yes.
it makes a little difference. So,
Now, Jeremy, if someone is experiencing like a sore mouth, instead of the pineapple, what would you suggest? Oh, that looks beautiful. First of all, let me admire that glass.
Oh.
Okay, looks great. Looks great.
Instead of the pineapple, yeah. So if the acidity in the pineapple and even the lime juice as well, if you have mouth sores and too astringent or too aggressive, then absolutely you can use a fruit that isn't as acidic. So mango would work really well, or even peaches. Like if you had some nice peach, again, frozen or fresh, either would work. Those would be 2 great options. And then instead of using the lime juice or like a lemon juice, just go for the zest. Again, the zest of the citrus is going to have a lot of those essential oils. So you're going to still get a lot of that lime flavor or that lemon flavor, or even orange, if you want to use zest of an orange in there, without adding the actual juice itself and that acidity. That's a way that you can still make and enjoy this refreshing drink without those more aggressive ingredients.
Beautiful.
Here's our drink. Good. Cheers. You'll have to make your own, Daniela, sorry.
Yes, I know. But a plug for our ELLICSR Kitchen website. I'm sure these 3 recipes will make their way there. And also you'll have the recipes available, I think, online.
Yeah, so tomorrow, for anyone watching, all the recipes will be available on our website tomorrow. And the videos from today's class will be cut up into 3 recipe videos, and they'll be available on our YouTube channel tomorrow as well. And like I mentioned, for all of our upcoming cooking and nutrition classes that Tina and I teach, check out our YouTube channel. You can click subscribe, click the notifications bell. That sort of lets you know when we have an upcoming class. Generally, it's every Thursday of the month. So our next class is on Thursday, August 18th, I believe. So that will be our next class. So definitely mark that in your calendar. We'll have 3 brand new delicious recipes and nutrition tips to share with you. And then also for more recipes. We've put together hundreds of recipes throughout the years, and you can find that on our website. So that's ellicsrkitchen.ca, and you can check those out as well. Anything else?
And I think to add to that, credible sources of nutrition information. So definitely the ELLICSR Kitchen is where to go. But if you're undergoing treatment or I want to remind you that the dietitian may not be at the forefront of the team at the clinic on the floor. So if you're having issues with, even taste changes, or you're losing weight and you don't know why because you're still eating like you did before, or you're just not feeling, you have some fatigue, let's say, it's good to just mention it to your team. There is usually a dietitian as part of the team. They may not be able to see you right away, but at least you can be put on the wait list. And then in the meantime, you can visit the Elixir Kitchen website, because the recipes are there also categorized based on your symptom. So there's some good information you can find there in the meantime. Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's it.
Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us today for our Community Connections Cooking and Nutrition class. And if you haven't checked it out already, we had 2 amazing presentations a little earlier, talking about some of the resources available for the EOA cancer community. So you can check those out in our Community Connections playlist. It should be down below somewhere on our YouTube channel. But until next time.
And
enjoy the summer, stay cool, enjoy your outdoor cooking and picnics, and
stay hydrated. Yeah.
stay hydrated. Yes, absolutely. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.